Hey guys, Cameron here with Emerson Property Management. Every week I bring you tools, tactics, strategies, lessons I've learned, things that helped me build up a sizable portfolio in about 2 years and now manage that portfolio. If you guys are in the hunt to find a property manager or separate the wheat from the chaff with the property managers, what questions are you asking them? Well, today I want to cover a handful of the questions that the host of the BiggerPockets podcast, Scott Trench, I think he's also the CEO, what he said he would ask his property manager. So if you guys want to see some of what those questions are, I'll also put a link down to the podcast that they had. They did like a 40 minute podcast and how he lost 40 grand. A property manager stole 40 grand from him. I'm going to answer those questions. It'll help protect you. So whether you want to know how we do things or you're analyzing a bunch of property managers, stay tuned and we'll go through that. Before I get into that, if you guys like this stuff, find it valuable, please like, subscribe, share with somebody. If you don't, give us some feedback. So again, Scott Trench, he is the CEO and host of the BiggerPockets podcast. They've been around for over a decade. I actually used them in the beginning when I was trying to understand rental properties and ask questions to experienced investors. So it's a fantastic platform. If you guys are on there, it's free. There's a couple paid features here and there, but it's a really great place. So especially if you're getting started out, there's just so much knowledge, the forums, there's people in there with decades and decades of experience. Well, Scott did a post or did a podcast about, I don't know, a month or so ago, I guess this was in June, and talking about how he lost $40,000 for his property manager, how he robbed him, the property manager robbed him of 40 grand. Here's the questions you should ask to make sure you don't get robbed. Separate the wheat from the chaff with a property manager and you don't get somebody that's a goofball or gonna steal from you. And again, it could always happen, but at least here's some questions that you guys have so you can ask them to help you with that. So the first one, what the occupancy is of the overall portfolio. I can tell you ours is 93.7% at the time of this recording in July 2024. But what he says is, and it makes a lot of sense, why occupancy? Well, because if you have an entire portfolio and only half of it is occupied, you have a problem. There's something wrong. There's something going on. So, you want to look at a 90+% occupancy rate. That will tell you how efficient we are or a property management company is getting your unit turned, of filling them. So, you want to minimize vacancy from the time the tenant moves out until the time a new tenant moves in. And you want to make sure that you're listing the property appropriately. You want to make sure you're setting a good lease rate. Because if you're setting it too high and you're waiting months and months and months, you're never going to recoup that. And I've got a video up here talking about how vacancy just kills your cash flow. So occupancy, that's a quick number that a property management company worth their salt should be able to grab. So ours, in the time of this recording, is 93.7. The second one he asks, does the property management company have written qualifications for tenants? And the reason they're written, and the reason he asks this, is because, again, property management in some states is super deregulated. So you can have a dude in a truck driving around checking out properties, with a hammer, fixing things, putting a sign out in the front yard or whatever. No licensing, no insurance, no MLS access, and that could be viewed as a property manager. Then you can have somebody who's super experienced, licensed, held to a higher standard, whether that's the National Association of Residential Property Managers or an agent. In Texas, you have to be a licensed agent to be a property manager, to do third-party property management. This just small ask of do you have written tenant qualifications can prevent all sorts of fair housing issues. If this property manager doesn't have things written out in policies and procedures, you are opening up yourself for risk. You are opening up yourself for liability, and you hire a property manager to reduce your liability. You do not want a property manager that doesn't systematically process tenants, that doesn't systematically lease properties, that doesn't systematically move out tenants, that doesn't systematically process security deposits. I mean, I can go on and on and on. If they're doing that, Yosemite Sam style by the seat of their pants, you're just asking for liability. You hire a professional property manager to understand the laws, process tenants and maintenance requests, and any sort of things that come up in the property in a fair, legal way. So that's a big one. This tells you a lot. If they don't have that, run. The third one, he asked for a copy of your owner statement. So our salesperson is trained to give these to you if you want them. We will happily show you a copy of our owner statements. And this, I think, is another one of those things that, so Scott says, this shows you what you're going to be getting. So our owner statement you get on or about the 15th of the month. So every month you're going to get an owner statement. If you can't read that statement, or there's property management companies like the one he talked about that made it super confusing intentionally so they can hide things in there, that might be a recipe for disaster. I can tell you ours isn't super intuitive, but if you ask for a copy, we will walk through it. Our salesperson will walk through it with you. You'll be able to see exactly what it is, and you'll be able to have that. I don't know how anybody isn't able to do this, because with the property management software and all the accounting you need to do, you don't want somebody that's not going to give you statements. It's a recipe for losing 40 grand. Okay, another question he asked, why are you in this business? Now, I thought this was super important, and I've talked about this in another video when we did that acquisition, how important it is that your property management company isn't full of a bunch of VCs, venture capitalists, or private equity companies. Because when it is, all they're trying to do is extract as much money out of you and the tenants as they possibly can, so the revenue goes up, and then they exit. That's what private equity does. They cut expenses, they increase revenue, and then they sell the property for a multiple, or sell the company for a multiple. That's it. It's the same stuff you do and I do when we're looking at our investments, right? Get rid of expenses, increase income. But these people are ruthless. I mean, you can look up, I don't even know how many things about articles and whatnot regarding private equity and how they just lay off people and strip stuff down. So quality and customer service goes down. Why are we in this business? I am in this business because of necessity. Over 10 years ago, I bought my first rental property, and I could not find somebody to manage it the way I wanted it done. I talked to the dude who had 100 properties, drove around in his truck, no licensing, nothing. I talked to the company that had over 1,000 doors. They actually ended up getting acquired and blew me off in a meeting. I had like 7 to 10 properties at the time. I started building Emerson because I needed to. And then it just kept growing, and friends, family, everybody just started, I shouldn't say everybody, but people started recognizing what's going on and handing the properties over. And then it became a full-fledged business. I am still, to this day, the largest client of Emerson. So every single thing we do, I try to keep in the back of my mind that there is a client at the end. There is an owner client. There's an investor. I'm not looking at this from the lens to sell the business. I'm looking at this of how can we provide a better service to our owners? So I think that's super important. There are people that get into this for not the right reasons, because they used to work as a software engineer and they heard that property management was great. I'm not saying those people can't turn into great property managers. I don't want it to come across that way. But if they're doing this as a side hustle, property management is not the best business for a side hustle. So that's important. You want to know, because honestly, and you guys know this, I don't want to get too long-winded in this, but you guys know that rental property investment takes a while. It might take 5 to 10 years to really start seeing that exponential growth of your cash flow, of the appreciation of your debt pay down. So you want to be with somebody that's going to be there for 5 or 10 or more years. That's who you want to be with. You don't want to be changing property management companies every year or two. Okay, and then something else he mentions is very simple fees. So what does that mean? I have seen, and I have another video up here, that there are companies that have over 3 dozen different fees. That is crazy to me. Every time you turn around, you're getting fee. Technology fee, year-end accounting fee, non-insurance fee. It just goes on and on and on and on. You can go on our website. We publish our fee structure on the website. It is super clear and transparent. It is a flat fee type model. So you see the only fees we're ever going to charge you. You're going to see them right there on the website. It's super clear. There's like 5 to 6 different fees, and that's it. And some of those only come up in an eviction, or in a case that you want us to go return your Xfinity box to the store, which we have had somebody ask us to do that before. Okay, y'all. Again, the link to the podcast, so you know I'm not blowing smoke, is I'll put it in the details there. Scott lost 40 grand. That's why he wanted to walk through some of the things for new investors evaluating companies. Again, those are our answers for that. Shop around, make sure you do your due diligence. And if you have any other further questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll see y'all next week.